Шановні українці і українки, сьогодні є нові результати наших сил оборони в далекобійних санкціях проти Росії. Бензинова криза в Росії поглиблюється цілком справедливо у відповідь на небажання Путіна закінчувати цю війну. Ми дали пропозиції, як наблизити мир. Маємо підтримку не тільки серед партнерів в світі, а також і серед оточення Путіна щодо миру. Там розуміють, що відбувається і що мир не має альтернативи. Це враження буде в Росії збільшуватися. Сьогодні я підписав указ про створення у складі Збройних сил спеціального командування далекобійного, фактично глобального впливу на Росію за цю війну. Це командування повинно зосередити 100% наявних ресурсів для того, щоб ще відчутніше знизити російський потенціал війни. Командувач на цьому напрямку буде сильний і точно максимально досвідчений. Буде проведена необхідна трансформація штурмових військ. Багато є питань, проблеми, які треба вирішити. Передусім, уставлені до людей. Правоохоронні органи роблять процесуальні кроки. Також на рівні управління штурмовими військами будуть зміни. Сьогодні я підписав указ про створення об'єднаних сил швидкого реагування. Це має бути нова складова Збройних сил України, яка поєднає в собі боєздатність штурмових військ, необхідну безпілотну складову, необхідну артилерійську складову та інші засоби для максимально оперативного реагування на фронті. І це має бути сучасна штурмова складова, технологічна. Командувачем об'єднаних сил швидкого реагування має бути досвідчений військовий, бойовий командир.
We're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right? This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I say, make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right. You know, I'm sure they'll be thrilled. But you know, they'll be able to do it. You'll be able to figure that out. Most countries couldn't do that. Yeah. If I said that to most countries, they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But this is a very ingenious group, and what I like about that, it's a defensive situation as opposed to an offensive.
What we currently have is a statement by the US president, who is famous for his statements, but now you need to have a negotiation between the American industries and the Ukrainian industries, where to build it, what exactly to build, which missiles to build, and how to handle the components and the export licenses. All these things are now basically need to be negotiated between the different parties. Yeah, I think the first reaction is always try to be positive to Donald Trump and say thank you, but always have a plan B. So I think just counting on the word of this special president may be a mistake, and I think the Ukrainians know this very well. That's the reason why they have developed their own indigenous capabilities for mid-range and longer-range strikes, even if it's just built on UAVs. I think this is what the Ukrainians, in a very sensible way, will take forward, try to use every opportunity. The US could be an opportunity, but the probability, I think that's what the Ukrainians have learned, is if they develop it themselves, they will be sovereign on this, and that's what they need to be. Yes, the kind of the dilemma for the Ukrainians is that they need the weapons exactly now because the arsenals are empty. The question is whether the US is able and willing to divert some of the ongoing production already to Ukraine, or if they would allow other countries that still hold some of the relevant Patriot missiles to export them to Ukraine. I guess the Ukrainians in parallel will try to pursue other options because they are now under the attack and have no defense against a specific area of Russian ballistic missiles. So they will try to kind of substitute what they have, which is quite difficult. And the question is whether Europeans see an opportunity to step up, whether this is an opportunity to also get air forces more involved in trying to shoot down some of the missiles at least. But it's pretty clear that for the moment, the Ukrainians are almost defenseless against very high altitude or high speed incoming ballistic missiles from the Russian side. Me being not the engineer, would estimate at least 1.5 years until you see the first missile coming out, and that would assume that you work on a 24/7 basis to establish and nothing goes wrong. So if we then assume that some things will go wrong, we are easily in a time span of 2 years, possibly. If the Americans would allow, Germany could start producing also this more advanced version of the Patriot missiles, because the technology is known and the production sites are in principle here. That doesn't mean that they exist one-on-one, but it would be possible to do this. They could also possibly help with some engineers on that. But that would, first of all, depend on the US to give away and allow others to produce in license or even share the IPRs, the intellectual property rights, on some of the missiles and possibly also on the components. Because what we currently miss is that each missile is built out of, I don't know how many dozens components. These need to be produced as well, which is one of the biggest challenges, especially for missile engines. There we have a significant shortage, and there will be also some elements in the supply chain which the Americans, I think, will not allow to give away the IPRs about. You could argue every single missile makes a difference. But of course, we are talking about large quantities where the Russians produce almost 1,000 important missiles a year. So that's what you would have to counter. And I guess the Ukrainians are also now vividly try to bring down the launcher systems on the Russian side, as well as other key elements of the targeting system of the Russians, because you can't only try and shoot down the missiles. You also have to look for offensive operations, offensive options that basically stop the missiles of being able to be launched. That could be targeting the bombers that some of the missiles are started from, and targeting other options that the Russians use to launch the missiles. They have been successful in pushing especially the sea-based launch pads away from the Black Sea. I think this is what the Ukrainians will continue and speed up on to eliminate as much as they can the Russian threat potential.